Hello and welcome back to the Fighting Talk 2 channel. We are the Fighting Talk 2 team as always. The eloquent analyst down the bottom. How are we doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Good to see you guys for another episode. The tripod is always back. It's always a good time.
That's it. I think we've been going for like nearly 8 months now. So it's nice. It's nice and we have some regular listeners as well. So thank you very much for tuning in as always. George in Casual Crush Corner. How are we doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. I'm counting up my 10K as we speak because obviously Yanez knocked him out in the second round and I called it right. Thank you very much.
That's it. And I think most of the bets that I put on last night were ruined because of the terrible judging once again. But we will not dwell too much on the terrible judging. We are going to get straight into it. And we're going to speak about some of the fights that we spoke about last week in the pre-fight. We're going to speak about them now. So the first one we're going to talk about is Imavov. Wow, he looked fantastic last night. He looked really, really good, living up to the name, the sniper. But Heinisch just looked a little bit hunched and he looked a little bit tense. And Imavov just looked smooth and crisp. George, what did you take away from that fight and where can we see Imavov going next?
Yeah, man. Imavov, obviously I wrote him off on the preview show, saying that wasn't quite sure where he was heading. And, wasn't quite convinced of the hype that he'd kind of maybe secured so far. But I mean, he lived up to the name, the Russian sniper, and he put a lovely display on Ian Heinisch last night. And when you look at where does Imavov go from here? That's, I suppose he works his way up towards that top 15. He needs maybe another 1-2 fights before he can maybe crack that top 15. The big question for me is where does Ian Heinisch go from here? Like maybe Ian Heinisch has now found the level, that he kind of exists at, which, I just said to you off before we start recording, which is fighting other unranked guys on the prelims. Maybe that's Ian Heinisch's career, and that's cool. Like the UFC needs people like that. That's an important person to have. But, this kind of guy who, like a few months back, was fighting Kelvin Gastelum, he's just never going to be at that. He's never going to find his way back to that level, I don't think. I think there's more potential out of Imavov than there is Heinisch. And I think that was on show last night because when Imavov needed to kill, the speed that he produced to get the job done was at a much higher level than Heinisch was.
Yeah, and I think the finishing sequence itself was actually just a very, very crisp jab when Heinisch was loading up to come in, just completely sat him down. But then I felt like Imavov was looking at the ref a little bit too early. He was putting the work on and Heinisch was in kind of like a little turtle position. And Imavov was kind of looking at the ref going, well, do you want me to keep hitting him or should I let him up? Or I don't know. Some people would have said it was a late stoppage, but he wasn't taking a massive amount of damage, Prath, what do you think?
Please.
Man, do your job until the referee pulls you off. Simple as that, man. That's how this game works. So crack on until the referee says no more.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree, and that's exactly kind of that's the thing that kind of makes me hate the look up at the ref. I know that they can feel that the ref is nearby, and then ref could potentially stop it quite soon, and that's maybe why he was giving him the look forward. But no, you're absolutely right. It's you keep going until the referee pulls you off. The focus should be on your hand positioning. He had him down in a turtle position. He was kind of pounding him out from there, and he just. I think when you get to that position, when you're in that turtle position, your hands on your head, you're just trying to avoid strikes. It's game over at that point. There's no, I don't see a lot of people being able to get out of that position. The very, very few 1% of guys that really get out of that position. But that's kind of like end of the road. And that's kind of like, I feel like the fighter on the ground has accepted that that's their fate. They've been stopped at that point and they just want to try and avoid taking as much damage as possible. Hence why they put their hands on their head. So yeah, I got to agree with George as well. Maybe we've seen the peak of Ian Heinisch. I think maybe, Kelvin Gastelum was a fight that could have propelled him forward and really taken him to the next level there. Confidence wise as well, having a name like Kelvin Gastelum on your record would have really, really boosted his confidence. But I think it's going to take a couple of bounce back fights for Ian Heinisch to really make a strong showing in that 15 to 10 category. 15 to 10 rankings within his category. So don't know where he goes from here. I believe they'll give him, there were a couple of other middleweights on this who lost, like Soriano, for instance, that he could potentially get matched up with again. Sorry, not matched up with again, just matched up. And that could be a bounce back fight for him as well. And I love like when you see multiple weight classes on the same card, because you can start kind of matching those guys up together as well. And you look at the card before and the card afterwards as well. These are all guys that are going to have similar recovery times, similar times that are going to be ready to fight as well. So some of the losers of some of these cards that are back and forth here, let's maybe see Ian Heinisch against one of those guys. And I think he's just going to have to learn some of these technical proficiencies. I don't feel like he was as quick as Imamov as well. Imamov just seemed like 3 gears ahead of him the entire fight. And so is that a cardio issue? Is that a speed issue? Is that an athleticism issue? Only someone like Ian Heinisch would really know that, being in there with Imamov. So that's kind of where I see it from there. But great performance, great finish as well. It shows that Imamov is there to when he's got you hurt, he's going to hunt for the finish as well, which is great. Some people kind of rest on their laurels a little bit, and maybe 3 minutes 9 seconds. He only had 2 minutes left. He could have kind of cruised to the end of that round and maybe take another round decision. But he went out there, took the initiative, and took the win away from Ian Heinisch. So kudos to Imamov.
And you don't get paid by the hour in this game either.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, I said something about this yesterday with regards to another fight, and it's some fighters' game plan is to go in there and get a 3-round fight, because that is their game plan, to grind someone out for 3 rounds. Not every single person on the UFC roster or in mixed martial arts is a natural born finisher. Not everyone is going to have the power to finish people or the submission skills to finish people or whatever. Some people go in there with the objective of winning a decision. We see so many fighters do that, so many fighters do that. So although you don't get paid you don't get paid overtime, you get paid to win. So I think if you are a natural finisher and you can get in there and get the job done early, then, all power to you. But if your game plan is just to go in there and get the W, then, amazing as well. And like you said, George, that the UFC needs fighters to be in that middle ground and to be the kind of like stepping stones as well. Just imagine a world where everyone in the UFC was prime and shooting for a belt. The matchups would be impossible, because everyone would be so elite and all chasing the belt. I know, you'd assume that every athlete would want to get that kind of accolade, but I really don't think that Ian Heinisch has gone home and gone, yeah, that was a little setback, but we're still on our way to the belt. I just don't see it. I just don't think he's going to be, sitting down with his family and his coaches and stuff going, it's okay. A couple more fights, we can get back there. You think you're getting 3-4 fights a year, you're 34, 35, you're going to be pushing on a little bit, That's one of them things. Next up, Brandon Allen. What a performance from that gentleman yesterday. We knew that the Punahale Soriano fight was going to be good with him, but Brandon Allen showing his absolute best last night. His experience completely took over. The body kicks were beautiful. Soriano clearly needs to work on his gas tank as well. Prath, what did you see in that fight that really made you think that Brandon Allen's going to turn back? He's going to turn back some stuff right now, and Soriano needs some more ring time, it would seem.
After the end of the first round, it's kind of where I was like, okay, well, we're going to really see what Soriano is made of here. Clinical is the word I would really use there. Brandon Allen really using his jab, using the body kick to kind of keep him at bay and he had great distance in that fight. Soriano, yeah, man, that was for me, because I think that was one that all 3 of us were really unanimous in thinking that he was going to get like a first round TKO or a KO because of just his performances that he's put on so far. He doesn't really, he doesn't mess around, man. He gets in there and he swings for the fences, and that's kind of what you saw here. But Brandon Allen had great defense, and again using that jab just to keep him at bay, using the body kicks, keeping that range beautifully. That's kind of what you want to see in Brandon Allen as well. Like, he's a tall guy. And I think that's going to be a lot of what you see out of his game plan. He's going to be that sniper from the sidelines. And I love that. And he really put it on, and he looked confident. Like, for me, like, one of the big takeaways I take from the week before the fight is the face-offs, right? And Brandon Allen against Soriano, like, Brandon Allen looked very confident. He didn't look like, I think a lot of the other guys that have fought Soriano so far have just kind of he's quite a thick guy. He's bodied up and stuff like that. So I think when you get in front of him, you're like, oh damn, okay. And Brandon Allen had no fear when he went in there, and you could tell with the jab and the kick. I think he had such a good game plan going into it that he didn't really fear him. And Brandon Allen has a good camp. I believe he trains out of Sanford, which is Michael Chandler, Gilbert Burns, all these kind of guys. So he's training with the elite of the elite, man. So kudos to Brandon Allen, man. That's a great win. He's more of a submission guy, and that's kind of what I actually thought was going to happen here. A little bit more takedowns, a little bit more, kind of aggressive in going for submissions over a guy that's predominantly a striker. So awesome to see him kind of out jab him, out kick him, and out strike him, really. So big props.
No, it was a great performance by him as well. Those body kicks were just beautiful. Soriano had a big massive red mark across the left-hand side of his ribs and down to his stomach and that, head body. It was a beautiful performance from him. It really, really was. But George, now Soriano's still got quite a bit of hype behind him. He's still got a very, very good record coming into this fight. We actually mentioned that the experience of Brandon Allen might take over Soriano's experience, obviously, because he's had 3 times the amount of fights. It's just one of them things, But are you still on the Soriano hype train? And, where do you see him going after this loss? And who do you see him coming back and fighting?
I always say with these kind of fights, when you get guys who are kind of like 8-0, 9-0, the UFC start to pick them up a little bit in terms of competition, that if they do lose, you have to look at it and go, right, it's not the end of the world. And actually the key thing here now for Soriano is when he goes back to, I think he trains at Extreme Couture. So when he goes back there, it's now about, can you look objectively at what went wrong and can you learn and then come back and basically whatever issues you had, move on from them quite quickly. It's almost the most important thing now is the next couple of fights for him. Because if he had won, he wouldn't have realized he had those problems. He would have just carried on as he is, almost blindly carrying on. And everyone's got weaknesses. No one's perfect, apart maybe Habib, but that's obviously a different ball game altogether. But I think that's just the key thing. And I do think that kind of you look at Extreme Couture and what they've done, they're very honest as well. They're very good at going back and working on people and making them better. I think that's the key thing. Whoever Soriano faces next, it's going to be really interesting to see. Does he gas as quickly? Is he better at managing the 15 minutes? All these kind of questions that maybe last night we'll get answers to. I'm not off the hype train. It's a slight derail last night. There's still a long, long way to go for Soriano, a guy who's in his mid-20s, only had 10 fights in his career. There's a long way to go for him. And yeah, no, definitely the kind of him in the UFC, there's still a long way left for him. I'm certain of it.
And that's his first loss as well. And in the mixed martial arts, we know that wins and losses don't really mean much. So I think people are just a fan of his style, right? The first round knockout kind of fighter, I think, is the fan favorite kind of style. So I don't think people will necessarily jump off the hype train, but I think they're going to want to see him improve and do better next time. So I'm hoping that cardio is one of the main focuses of what they their next camp and things of that nature.
I think as well, when you look at Soriano, you think about it as well, like you talk about losses and all this kind of stuff. Joe, I've forgotten my point. It's gone in my head. Move on. I've actually forgotten it. Completely gone. If it comes back, I'll bring it back up. But that is literally in one ear and out the other. That's unbelievable. I literally had it and literally gone. That's unbelievable. Man. I feel like an old man.
Well, thinking you've got it and then it nearly going is very much like the Costa versus Yanez fight, right? Because there you go. I've segued straight into the next topic. I mean, I really, really enjoyed that fight. I've watched it a good couple of times since, and it was nice. What I felt was really, really good was Yanez was very, very honest and open about the fact that he had a lot of work to do after the fight, even though he got the W. He was like, wow, I need to work on moving my head. I need to work on a lot of things. But Costa looked fantastic. Very, very awkward body shape as well. Very awkward shoulders. Very, very long, deceptively long arms. The jab for him was like an absolute sniper. on Yanez. You know, he was just taking it constantly. You could see the bridge of his nose was gone. The blood was, you know, really, really starting to pour out of Yanez. But then in true Yanez fashion, it just completely turned up the gas in the second round, catching him with a beautiful uppercut, working the body as well. I felt like Costa was doing so well, got cracked with like 3 shots. I think it was very much a cardio issue as well in the second round, that he just couldn't keep up with that pace. The pace in the first round was phenomenal. But George, you obviously called it and said Yanez was going to finish by TKO. But yesterday, he just put on an absolute performance. And that's it. He's eating it. And that's it. Prath is eating the humble pie. He's eating the humble pie, you know. It's just one of them things, you know. But
hey, man, round 1 had me like, I was literally like, had the message ready to send you guys being like, yeah, man, Randy Costa, what?
And then it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
You let me down.
Yeah.
You let me down.
The timing of Costa was very, very awkward as well. It's almost like a Dominic Cruz kind of awkward. You think he's stepping backwards, then all of a sudden he stepped forward and he's jabbed you again in the face. And I mean, even I was getting annoyed that Yanez was getting jabbed so much. I was like, this must be really annoying. He was almost moving off the center line and getting jabbed at the same time. It was just, he need, you know, DC said it perfectly. He needs to preempt when the jab is coming. I always think it's like a goalkeeper, you know, on a penalty, you're going to jump one way. That's it. You have to jump one way and you have to commit to that one way. If you take it, you take it. If you don't, you don't. It's one of them things, you know, as we saw with England versus Italy. But it's the same thing in mixed martial arts, I think. You know, if you think, right, cool, he's coming this way, I'm going to move my head that way. Nope, I got jabbed in the face. Cool, I'm going to go the other way and hope that I don't get jabbed. But George, tell me, where does Yanez go from here, man? Apart from back to his hotel room to drink 15 liters of Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, man, look, really impressive from both guys, actually, because that first round for Costa, he really looked like he was going to win this battle of the two, like, up-and-coming prospects. You know, like you were saying, the jab was literally a sniper. And we were saying it on our WhatsApp group, he's getting jabbed here, Yanez. He needs to figure out how to stop this, because it's going to end up being a downfall for him. But he comes out, second round, and I felt like the game changer was those Canelo-style those left rips to the kind of body, you know, and Costa didn't want to live with them. And then the uppercut came and the finish came. And there we go. And we've said this about Yanez before, there's clearly something in those hands. There's got a bit of dynamite, because when he starts to let those hands go, people are struggling to live with him. And now, obviously, as the competition gets harder for him, which it's going to start getting because there's now even more hype with Yanez, it's going to maybe be harder to put guys away. So he's going to have to continue to develop that all-round game and continue to try and improve and get better, which positively he has acknowledged himself he needs to go away and get better. But look, the guy's striking is natural talent. It's not work. Has to be worked upon, because everyone has to work on their skills. But he's been blessed with unbelievable hands, and he's got a great boxing IQ to know that when that first body shot rips into Costa and Costa don't like it, he sees it straight away. I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to continue there, because that's the first sign of how I can break him down and finish him. I thought it was really impressive from Yanez again last night. He's showing a really high level of IQ in that boxing style. And there's now a lot of hype. I said, and I think Prafford might agree, he's at the moment my prospect, the breakthrough guy of the year. He's one more big win here. Maybe I said on a numbered card, he might find himself now towards the back end of the year. He was to pick up another win. Man, that hype train is going to be seriously starting to catch a lot of steam. So, yeah, really impressive. And for Costa, it's not the end of the world, really. It was an incredibly impressive first round. Go away, continue to improve, and there's still a long, long career ahead in the UFC for him as well, for sure.
Yeah, I felt like his stock went up yesterday. You know, we weren't overly hyped about him, but yesterday I thought he looked really, really good. You know, it's unfortunate that in mixed martial arts there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser in the fans' eyes anyway, even if it is a draw, for instance. But I thought his stock definitely went up, and I will be 100% tuning into the next time he's fighting, because he looked very, very good. He looked very, very good last night. It was just unfortunate that he was on the receiving end of the loss. But where does Yanez go from here, Prath? Tell me. I know you're you're usually very good at matchmaking, to be honest with you. So I'm going to shoot the question down to you. You can bring up the stats. You can bring up the numbers there, and then have a look at where he gets matched up to next.
God, that's a good question, man. I'm just going to try and look for the bantamweight rankings because I think,
just
you know,
while perhaps looking, bantamweight right now is 100% the hottest division in the UFC.
Yeah.
The level of competition in it is insane. When you've got guys like Adrian Yanez coming up, like, and not even ranked, it's pretty mad how good 135 is at the moment.
I can't get the rankings up for some reason. That is strange, but we'll run it. Okay. We'll adapt. It's all good. I think, with the thing that I loved about that fight as well was Yanez's feints. And I think I mentioned that in the group chat yesterday. He throws these incredible feints before he's about to throw his shots. And I think that was what really confused Randy Costa in the second round. First round, definitely Randy Costa, some people could even say as a 10-8 round. It was very, very close to being that way. I think if he did a little bit more damage, he would have done, but the jab was incredible. And it was a stinging jab as well. You could see Yanez really like wince at every time he was getting hit with that jab as well. So props to both. Kind of like Soriano versus Allen, there's nothing that you can really take away from Randy Costa. I think he showed really, really good heart in there. The cardio, again, will be the issue here. And I hope that's something that he'll address. Maybe don't go so crazy in the first round and manage your energy a little bit better. If you can't get them out of there, I think like if you get to like 3 minutes of the round and you can't get them out of there, then you've really got to distribute your energy a little bit better. And that goes from bantamweight all the way to heavyweight. And because you see that across all weight classes, I'm not just saying, it could be one class or one weight class or the other. I think all weight classes suffer from, trying to finish everything in the first round and then ultimately losing by decision or getting finished themselves. So definitely something that he needs to work on. But I think both guys are going to end up getting being ranked very highly within the next couple of years, especially Adrian Yanez. I think let's give him someone in the top 10, top 15, maybe someone between, I think like 8 to 13. I don't know if he's currently ranked in the bantamweight rankings because I don't have it in front of me. So yeah, you're saying no. So yeah, I would love to see him. And I don't think, you need to slot him in against necessarily number 15. So I think he's at the level now that he's shown that he can endure in a fight as well. He can be in a tough fight. He can be hurt, come back and still win. So that's the attributes that I know Dana White absolutely loves and seeing in his fighters. Hence why Diego Sanchez made such a damn long career out of it. So I think, 8 to 13 is where I'm going to kind of keep him there. I don't know the names of 8 to 13. I don't know if they're crazy. I'm thinking maybe Dominic Cruz is in that mix somewhere. To be honest, I'd actually love to see Dominic Cruz versus TJ Dillashaw again before TJ fights for any kind of title. He was calling out Rob Font and all that kind of stuff, but I guess this is a discussion we'll have in a bit here. But 8 to 13 is where I keep young Yanez, and then as the year goes on here, man, and as 2022 rolls on, I think he is going to be a name to watch out for. I got to completely agree with George. Breakthrough. So far, we're about halfway through the year now. I would definitely say that out of everyone that I've seen so far, he is definitely the breakthrough fighter of the year so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the rankings here. I've managed to pull them up, and you've got Mirab Davashvili, Rafael Assunção, Jimmy Rivera, Marlon Vera, Kyler Phillips, and Cody Stammen. So
yeah, Kyler Phillips is about to lose his ranking to Paiva.
Yep.
Paiva versus Yanez would be good. Get him up, get just to get his foot in the door. But ultimately and equally, actually, I think he does pretty well against like Jimmy Rivera. I think he does pretty well against Marlon. Was it Marlon Moraes was there?
Marlon Vera.
Marlon Vera. Like, I think he does great against Marlon Vera as well. I think that's actually a really, really good. Marlon Vera versus Adrian Yanez would be a damn good fight.
Yeah, definitely, man. Or even a Assunção. I think that would be an absolute banger.
Assunção would be good, man. The Assunção would be a great one as well.
That would be a
true
banger
as well. Big name to have on your record.
Yeah, man. Very big. A very big name. But now we're going to talk about something that we were all a little bit annoyed about. George, tell me, what have you got on the last topic just before we move on?
What was I going to say?
You've forgotten again.
No, I'm only joking. No, like Yanez, the problem with Yanez is going to be that people are going to start looking at him going, I don't want to fight this guy because he's quite good and he's unranked, and it's going to end up in being that kind of like slightly awkward position potentially. But yeah, I'm sure they'll put him up against the 8 to 13 guy like Prav said. But yeah, now we can talk about the judges and how rubbish they were again. Crack on, Connor.
So the next topic we're going to talk about is, I feel like we need to stop giving her as much grief. Or okay, I need to stop giving her as much grief. But last night I felt like she did absolutely nothing. Macy Barber did, and the thing that annoyed me the most, right? I'm getting really irate about this. Yeah, even in the post fight when she was doing the little interview thing in the octagon, and she was like, I knew I had to come out and do something big. She did one thing. One thing was big. She did like a spinning elbow that just completely brushed Maverick. And it was like, oh yeah, I knew I had to come out here and, really turn it on. What do you mean? What do you mean? You haven't come out here and done anything. You haven't gained fans from your performance. You haven't, and then she was talking about wanting to do this for the fans. I don't see it. I really don't see it. She's obviously fighting at Team Alpha Male. And, it was like Team Alpha Male were the entirety of the crowd yesterday as well. I thought that was a little bit biased. Everyone was shouting TJ during the main event. A little bit sour for me, a little bit sour. I didn't enjoy that too much. But I felt like Maverick won, and so did 99.74% of the world. And the other little bit is Macy Barber's true fans and family. Like, come on. She did not win the fight. She did not win the fight, and I'm really disappointed for Miranda Maverick because I felt like she did just enough to win the first and second round. And, fair enough, Macy Barber turned it on ever so slightly, but it was like she was in first gear, and then all of a sudden she put a clutch down, went to second. She didn't do anything special for me. Her stock has not gone up with me, and I hope she gets put up against anyone that's going to completely destroy her, and she will be... Macy Barber's 14. She was fighting 13. She's already been beaten by 10. She's been beaten by 9. Like, where does she go from here? I want her to fight someone that's not ranked at all, lose, and then we can just see her take 5 years off, come back and be a better fighter, man. Honestly, I was really, really annoyed, to be fair. I was annoyed that she won. And I think even she was surprised that she won. But then her inflated ego quickly decided that she deserved everything that she got.
But who does she think is fooling? Like we all sit and watch this every week, and like we're not like, we're obviously just here doing this podcast, and we love the sport. But we sat last night and watched it and was like, this is so clearly Miranda Maverick's won this. Like, and then she stands there and like gives it all that rhetoric, and it's like, but you lost. Like, it's so okay. The record will say that you won, but you absolutely lost. And I was quite pleased to see Daniel Cormier kind of say, "What the like? Yeah. I don't like what's going on. What's going on?"
Yeah, that's what we were saying. He literally said she did not win. He was like, "I've got to go and interview the winner, but she did not win, so it's completely irrelevant." It's nice to see that he's so emotional and invested in the fact that he's still a true MMA fighter, and he's not just like one of these guys that's pumped full of money by the organization to say, "Yeah, she did so well." No, she did not win the fight.
Yeah, because he knows himself that if he was on the end of that, he'd feel completely robbed, like Maverick was. I feel for Maverick. I mean, Macy Barber is what it is. We talk about how there's the potential for her to be a star maybe in the future, but her career just feels like sour, to be honest, because you just feel like she's won last night, so her ego will now take her to a certain level, which is an overinflated version of what it should be. And the only thing you can hope is that she looks back on that fight and goes, man, I got really lucky there. I did get the win, but I definitely did not win. But the chance of that happening is slim to none. And yeah, ultimately, I just feel for Miranda Maverick, because this is a person who is really on the rise, really doing some great work and really putting in some good performances. And again, last night, she, for me, won the first 2 rounds. And yeah, okay, she might have lost the third, but she definitely won it 29-28. And we should be sit here talking about how she got another win. Right, who can she now face in the top 10 to see if she can crack the top 10? Instead, we're talking about ridiculous judging, and another really annoying after interview from Macy Barber, which is actually starting to really grate on me and clearly on you, Connor.
Vegas, baby. Vegas. We love crap judging in Vegas. Well, at least that's what Vegas seems to love. I mean, I don't really know what to say other than I'm disgusted. And I mentioned that in the group chat yesterday. I actually was like, we were sitting and we were talking about, how, Valentina would destroy Macy Barber, like destroy Macy Barber. And then they read out the decision. And I literally, the only thing I could say in the group chat was, excuse me? Excuse me? That is just bonkers to me. Maverick clearly won 29-28. Even, Macy Barber did not have a 10-8 round, and even if she did have a 10-8 round, it'd still be 28-28. So for me, it just does not make any sense. Like, where in the first 2 rounds did Macy Barber win, even win an exchange? She wasn't winning any of the exchanges. She wasn't doing anything. She wasn't even aggressive in those exchanges. She was just standing back, and Maverick was putting the pressure on, and Maverick was throwing all the shots, and she was kind of barely countering. She was defensively good. She was getting out of the way. She was moving on the cage pretty decently, I would say, but she wasn't really throwing any offense. And you could see, in the corner, Uriah Faber at the end of the first and second round was like, you've got to get offensive. You're being too defensive. You need to actually go out there and strike. And she wasn't doing anything. And then the third round comes. She does a little bit more, to her credit, but at the same time, the fight for me was already lost at that point to Maverick. And the thing that really grates me the most is now that Maverick has now had to take a back step for a fight that she didn't lose over someone who doesn't deserve to win over a name like Miranda Maverick. When you look at these prospects as they're getting matched up, it's always a shame when someone who is really talented is matched up against someone who's really talented and young as well. And they, one person has to take the loss. Either way, one person has to take the loss, right? And in this situation, Macy Barber didn't do anything, in my opinion, to secure that win. Even in the third round when she was coming out and she was striking a little bit more, like she was doing okay, but I wouldn't say she was like incredible. She was really overtook the fight. She was really making Maverick look like, she didn't belong in there with Macy Barber in the third round. Like, I didn't think that Macy Barber belonged in there with Miranda Maverick after watching the first 2 rounds. So typical Vegas judging behavior. I hate to say it. I hate that it's now become like a running gag on this podcast and a running gag within the UFC because, Vegas is their number one home, and look how the Apex has been, was the home of 2020 UFC, basically outside of Fight Island, right? And for Vegas to be the center of this and for it to have probably the worst judging out of pretty much any of these other states, it's really telling that doesn't seem to be a priority for them. So, I feel actually just sick and tired of talking about how crap they are. I think the people know how crap this Vegas judging are, and long may they continue to screw people over. I mean, I hope they don't, but they probably will.
And just looking at the ranking system, here, Macy Barber's going to, I assume she's going to swap with Miranda Maverick. So 14 is going to become 13. But Barber's been beaten by 9 and 10. So does she jump both of them and have a fight with Viviane Araújo or Jessica Ai or Joanne Calderwood? Is she going to jump that far up the rankings?
I would want to see one of those women fight her because I know they would beat her.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, imagine if she went in there with Jessica Andrade, Just imagine. She's just a different animal. It's almost like you want to see her get a title shot because Valentina would just immobilize her. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't even be up for debate.
Yeah, I'm going to start campaigning for Mace Barber to get a title shot against Valentina because I just want to see 25 minutes of, well, it wouldn't even be 25 minutes, maybe 5 minutes of complete hell because it would be a massacre. I mean, but yeah,
she doesn't deserve Valentina. She deserves Jessica Andrade, and I love Jessica Andrade's nickname, and I think it's so perfect for a fight with Macy Barber. The Brazilian version of it is Bate Estaca, which translates to pile driver, and I want to see her get pile drivered, tombstone pile drivered.
Just
Rest in
quickly as well,
peace.
the judging, every fight is important because all these fighters are trying to get further up the food chain to the top they can to the top. At some point, we're going to get a huge title fight ruined by judging soon, and that is going to be an absolute, I won't swear, but S storm for the UFC to deal with, because it's going to really highlight it to the world. You know, while it's happening on these smaller cards, they're kind of getting away with it a little bit. There's going to be an absolute disaster at some point, and it's going to be messy, because fighters at that point will say, I can't trust the Nevada State Athletic Commission to get me a fair result. So why should I fight in Nevada if I can't guarantee I'm going to be treated fairly by the judging? And that becomes a huge issue. The UK boxing scene had that for a couple of years, where they weren't getting good judging and fighters wouldn't come to Britain to box. We definitely do not need that in the UFC, because it's a nightmare, because Las Vegas is the UFC's home, and that's where most of the fights will take place. So somebody has got to start getting the Nevada State Athletic Commission in order. Somebody somewhere has got to try, because it's becoming a huge issue, like it wasn't already before.
No, absolutely. And then even the next fight I felt was a little bit close as well as the main event. Carla Phillips versus Paiva. I thought it was good. It was a good fight. You know, the two guys clearly had a lot to prove. They were both going out there. They really wanted the W. You could see it. They both really, really wanted the W. But as you said, Prath, Paiva just looked a little bit light, a little bit small out there as well. But it was Phillips' fight to lose. Really, it really was. You know.
Yeah, especially after the first round. I think after the first round, you really believe that Kyler Phillips was going to kind of run away with this. And I think Paiva isn't technically the best. Like, I don't think, like, you know, he's not like throwing amazing technique or anything like that, but I think he's just a dog in there, man. And he kind of felt the fury of that first round and just came back like a bat out of hell in the second and third round. Like, if anything, I agree. I think it was Kyler Phillips's fight to lose there, and he kind of just kind of rested on his laurels, knowing that he kind of dominated the first round there, which isn't that shouldn't be the attitude of any of these guys, especially in a three round fight. You still have to secure rounds 1 and 2 to even get out, get you to secure the win, really, even if you feel like you've had a dominant first round, because they can still come back and make it a draw. And that's something that we've seen in a couple of these fights, that we kind of agree that some of these should have been draws, some of these should have been decisions one way or the other. And this was definitely one that, for me, and I think I speak for both of these boys here, that I think that this, if anything, is a draw, this fight. And I don't know whose stock really goes up in this sense. I think both of them equally are very good, and Paiva definitely looked undersized in the weight class, and I think he's going to need to put on some serious muscle. But I think also, like, he doesn't maybe want to give up the speed that he had, and I think he had really good speed in that second and third round. I think Kyler Phillips really confused him in the first round. From a technique perspective alone, I think he threw loads of kicks, and he was he's been very diverse with his striking. And sometimes that does work, sometimes that doesn't work. Like in the main event, like a lot of diversity in his technique, but Corey Sandhagen throwing spinning kicks didn't always work out for him, because he was able to get his back taken really easily by TJ, and that's what you see in a lot of the times when these big techniques are being thrown. Not so much in this fight, but I'm just saying, because Kyler Phillips does throw a lot of those kind of techniques, that's a possibility for the future, and I would hope that he doesn't get caught in that trap. Tough performance though from Paiva, man, and I give him a lot of respect as well, because he was getting destroyed in that first round. So for him to come back, have the heart, have the gas tank as well, I think that's obviously the other thing that's so important, that his cardio looked like it was amazing, especially second into third round. Third round, he looked like he was still fresh, relative to Kyler Phillips, who looked like he was just about ready to get the hell out of that octagon. He just looked exhausted. And I think that, I think we talk about this a lot, which is cardio being one of the big factors in most of these fights. Cardio it doesn't seem like these guys are running like able to run for the 15 minutes. They get to like 10 minutes and they're like, okay, I'm done here. I'm just gonna like circle now and just like make sure I don't get hit. And that's what happened here with Kyler Phillips, but he was getting hit all the time. Credit to Piver.
I think the only person that stock goes up after this fight is Uriah Fabers for learning Portuguese, because
Bom dia.
I really do not believe that what I like I said, I work with a couple of Brazilian people, and I'm going to find out what Piver actually said, and I'm going to get them to translate it, because I'm fairly sure Uriah Faber was not translating point for point.
He was translating to a Brazilian guy that was translating it into English for Faber.
What do you mean?
You see, there was a Brazilian guy standing in the middle of both of them.
Yeah.
He was translating into Portuguese to Piver. Piver was then translating in Portuguese to this guy who was translating into English for Faber.
But why didn't the translator just talk?
That's what I saw. There was definitely like two other people next to Piver.
Yeah, there was a guy in the middle, but I thought he was just translating into Portuguese, and then Piver was talking. But I felt like Faber was coming back like super quick with the answers. He can't have been taking in that information.
He was leaning into him. You could see, like, if you watch the post-fight, he was like, as Piver was talking, he was like leaned into Faber, saying into his ear what it was, and then Faber was the one that was getting the mic afterwards.
Very strange. But why is Uriah Faber getting these special?
Yeah, Uriah Faber, man, California, man.
Yeah, but this surfer dude needs to calm down, you know. He needs to calm down and let the translator get paid to be a translator.
Conor McGregor will forever have the best Uriah Faber insult of all time, which is that he looks like a retired skateboarder.
He does, 100%. He looks like a 40-year-old surfer dude. You know, there's only so long you carry that haircut and that kind of like way of just the way he looks, man. I think he's like 4'8". You need to calm down and stop waxing your surfboard in the sun, man. Shit.
Darker than me, man.
Yeah.
Faber's darker than me, man. That tan is dynamite.
He's like that. He's like that auntie that just keeps like sitting out in the sun. She's just like, you know, got loads of mirrors and stuff. She just wants to sun it up. She uses like baby oil and stuff. You know, she just wants to be like leather. Weird, man. Very, very weird. But why was it like? It was like the whole of Team Alpha Male was fighting last night. I'm sure there was like four people from Team Alpha Male fighting last night.
Yeah, there was a lot.
It's strange. It was more like an interclub than a UFC event. Like they were like, right, we're just going to take the whole team and then we're just going to match them up with other people and just hope for the best, you know. But on to the main event. What a fight! What a fight! You know, I mean, George, I know you absolutely hate TJ Dillashaw for taking performance-enhancing drugs 2.5 years ago, and the fact that TJ Dillashaw has only really had maybe like 3 fights in the past 5 years. But wow, he looked really good last night. I thought he looked very, very good. I felt like Corey Sandhagen was very, very gun shy as well. You know, he was doing his jumps, he was doing his kicks. But Prath, like you said a minute ago, Corey was almost like shying away quite a lot. And then he was getting his back taken, put up against the cage. And then, you know, TJ wasn't doing anything with it apart from, you know, trying to pull him down every now and again that he was just massively unsuccessful with. But George, tell me, what was your take on the fight last night? Because I felt like Corey wanted to be in there for the full 25. I didn't feel like he was putting on the work to try and get him out of there early. I felt like he wanted the octagon time. I don't know why, but I felt like he wanted to win a decision there.
Yeah, it had that feel to it. And that made it a little bit strange when on the preview show, and you've been hearing him say all week that he's found that violent streak to him. And it was like, if you found the violent streak to yourself, then like this guy hasn't been in an octagon for 2 years. Okay, fine. He's been a champion before. He's, you know, it's not his first, you know, day at the rodeo. Like he knows what he's doing. But you're on a roll. You're beating people. People are taking a hell of a lot of notice of you. People think that you are. Some people would even say that you're the uncrowned champ of the division. Like they think you're going to win the belt. Now, there felt like there was opportunities to really put the gas tank on, really put Dillashaw under a bit of pressure and potentially take him out. But you're right, it felt like he wanted the time. It felt like he wanted to kind of cruise his way through to quite an easy decision win. And Dillashaw that's not going to happen with TJ Dillashaw. You know, he's not going to go anywhere. He's a bit more durable and hard going than that. And I think that was at times Corey Sandhagen's,
demise.
Demise. Yeah, that's the perfect word. Demise. That was the perfect word. But I still thought Corey won it 3-2. I think he just did enough to win. I don't hate the result. And I've also kind of turned a little bit for Dillashaw in the sense that if he's going to come and fight after coming away, he's going to put that kind of performance in against a top guy, maybe, and he's going to obviously fight clean, which you damn well hope that he's learned his lesson, then maybe there is a road to redemption back for him. Do I think that he should fight for the title next? No, I don't, but he is going to. He is going to fight the winner of Jan Sterling. Fine, cool. That is what it is. Incredibly close fight, really hard to call. Don't hate the result because I think it was really hard to call. But yeah, I think obviously Dillashaw goes into fight for the title. And I said last night, this morning, I think Corey Sandhagen against Rob Font is a lovely fight next for both guys. Two top contenders. It's a fantastic fight for both guys. But yeah, I think there was issues from both sides throughout the night. Dillashaw's got more of an excuse because of the time he's been away than Sandhagen does. I think Sandhagen will look back on it and be disappointed that he didn't put the gas tank down, didn't put the foot down a bit quicker, a bit earlier on, and put TJ under more pressure. But look, I don't think he'll look back on it now and regret it that he didn't do enough. I think he did enough to win that fight. I had it 3-2 personally.
He didn't look like he took any damage either. I mean, Sandhagen literally, his face was fine after.
I think, and he alluded to that with Cormier afterwards in the interview, didn't he? He said, look, I thought I did enough. I've taken no damage. I think I was deserving of the win, but this is the game. We obviously, people say don't leave it to the judges, and maybe when Sandhagen looks back on this, he'll think I should have taken TJ out here because I definitely could have potentially across that 25-minute period maybe have done that.
Yeah, and when we saw obviously Jan versus Sterling is now booked, I believe, isn't it, or verbally booked or something. So let's assume that Jan takes the W here as he should have done in the first fight instead of being a bit of a silly man and doing something very illegal. Then we're going to see Corey Sandhagen versus Aljamain Sterling 2, which you'd assume because that would be, the loser versus the loser. And then we're going to see TJ Dillashaw versus Piotr Jan, which I think every fight fan is going to want to see because I think that would be a fantastic matchup for both of these gentlemen. And then, like you say, Rob Font's definitely in the mix. Jose Aldo's fighting very shortly as well. If he catches a W, he's going to be super in the mix. So it's like that 135 division, man, is just absolutely on fire. Prath,
yeah, man.
Prath, tell me, Corey Sandhagen, he looked good last night, right? He looked very, very good. But do you think he needs to stick to his basics, right? Because he was doing too many big movements yesterday and getting caught.
Yeah, maybe not enough attention to detail to the P's and Q's, the small details. A lot of focusing on landing big shots, flying knee, spinning kicks. You saw that he was able to secure like a reverse triangle in like the first minute of the first round because he threw a flying knee and kind of landed over TJ Dillashaw. Yeah, it was kind of weird. And just interesting how he kind of gave it up. I can't remember what he gave. I think he gave up for like a heel hook, and he had the triangle deep. I don't understand why he gave it up. Maybe he felt like it wasn't as deep as we all thought it seemed like, because it seemed like it was super deep. Yeah, man, close fight. The only round for me that was really debatable was the third round. Every other round there was a clear win for Sandhagen or a clear win for Dillashaw. Third round for me was the only one, and I don't know for me as well who would win that round as well. There was no major action from Sandhagen. There wasn't major action from Dillashaw in that round either. So that's the tricky one. So yeah, split decision. very, very understandable because it was such a close fight. I'm very, very much looking forward to when they rematch, maybe a year or so down the line. I think that will also be awesome because they will have learned from each other and had that feeling of each other in the cage. I know they were ex-training partners, but being in the cage is a different animal altogether. So I think with that experience, I think the second fight, just out of violence alone, I think will be worth watching. So watch out for that one when that goes down, maybe in a year or so from now, because I do think Corey Sandhagen will stay at the top of stay at the top of bantamweight for a long time as well. TJ, just on skill and who he is as a person, the ex-champ and ex two-time champ, he will also naturally be at the top of the division until he gets out of here as well. So I do see these guys being able to, I know he's 35, but I also see the fact that I feel like he slowed down a little bit in that fight, but I think also he looked kind of like classic TJ Dillashaw. He went on to say afterwards that he had a bunch of injuries, like left knee, left shoulder, right shoulder. Like he had a bunch of injuries, which isn't uncommon for MMA fighters to enter these fights with a bunch of stuff broken. But he still managed to get the win here. So credit to TJ Dillashaw, especially after 2 years, no ring rust. He came in, he looked as good and as technical as he did against Cody Garbrandt. Where I feel like he was kind of like the second Cody Garbrandt fight for me was like where I felt like TJ was really at his like peak striking and just like smoothness in the octagon. He seemed like he had, just a finesse of skill at the second Garbrandt fight, and that's kind of where I would kind of put TJ at his peak of his bantamweight title reign. No stock lost on Corey either, and I think that I agree with Corey Sandhagen when I see him write on Twitter saying that he's still going to be a champion within a year or so. I fully believe that because of the skill alone. I think just needs to tighten up some of the decision making, I would want to say, in octagon when he's in there and he's what strike do I throw? Do I need to throw a flying knee? I say that, but to his credit, he did land a couple of those flying knees. TJ's chin is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. He landed big shots on TJ Dillashaw, and TJ Dillashaw, I think he only went down once maybe in that fight over 5 rounds, especially with like a bum knee as well. Like for the fact that he managed to stay up the entire time, took massive leg kicks, did not complain at all. You see him like once or twice maybe kind of switch stance or like kind of you see a couple of guys like almost like bounce on the spot a few times just to like make sure it's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of there but it's kind of broken. You see him do that quite a few times in the fight, so you could tell he was in mad pain afterwards. When he was coming to the press conference, he was limping. You could tell he was hurt, he was beat up. The cut was nasty over the eye, the placement of the cut as well. That could have easily have stopped that fight. So lucky TJ Dillashaw had such a great cut man in the corner in between rounds. That was just every single round when he was coming out, it was like the cut it was there, but like it wasn't bleeding out all over his face. And then he would get like 30 seconds into the round and he's bleeding out all over his face, get to the end of the round, and the guy cleaned it up so good. I don't know which cut man that was, but like shout out to that dude because he kept that fight alive for TJ Dillashaw. Because I think if he wasn't able to get a handle on it, I think in the second or third round, the referee probably would have stopped that because the blood was, you could see in like the 4th round, 5th round, it was crazy all over his face. It was leaking like a faucet, man. So shout out to that cut man. But yeah, close fight. Loved it. Hoping for the rematch one day down the line.
I just want to ask both you lads just a quick question. Obviously, this division is super stacked. This year, it's obviously going to run out. But by the end of next year, who do you think is the champ at 135?
Go to Jan. I think Jan is going to regain the belt, and I think Jan is going to have a good couple of defenses against the up and comers, the Corey Sandhagens, the Jose Aldos, who is obviously not an up and comer, but he's making a beeline for the title. And I think because when you say the end of next year, you're only kind of, especially at championship level, you're only really going to envision maybe two more fights, maybe 3 at a push by the end of next year. So if you think Jan Sterling happens this year, and then the winner of that, maybe you're looking at probably like October, December or something. I'm not sure when the fight is booked for. When is the Jan Sterling rematch?
October the 30th.
Well, then, you're probably looking at that, and then April, you're probably looking at a defense for the winner, and then you're in the summer again, and then that's it. You probably got one more. So I think Jan gets the belt back. I think he knocks Sterling out this time. I think he cleans him out legally this time. I think he knocks him out legally. That has to be mentioned. And then he keeps it. And then he keeps it for 2 more fights after that, and ends up 2022 still being the champ. I just think he's too good, man. I think he's too good, and he's still young enough to be, maneuvering into his prime as well. Prath, what's your take, brother?
I got to agree, man. I was sitting here trying to run it through my head and run through, I like TJ against Peter Yan. I think that's a fantastic fight, and I think that would be a close fight. But I think Peter Yan technically is just so good, man. So good. Great defensively in wrestling as well. Like you could see, Aljamain Sterling couldn't get him down for anything. So I think that's one of TJ Dillashaw's kind of better attributes. I know his striking is incredible as well, but his wrestling is what, his wrestling credentials in the US is about as good as you're going to get without being like an Olympic athlete. So I think Yan as well. I think I got to agree. I would see him, if he's going to fight in October, I would see him maybe come back in like January, February, maybe fight one more time in the summer, maybe one more time at the end of the year. If he's able to win all of those fights, you're looking at 2022's potential fighter of the year as well, just on technique alone. And I think the fans love to watch Peter Yan as well. I think he's got such an exciting style. He's got such a unique personality, that kind of like cold Russian personality, I want to say. Khabib is very welcoming, and it's a different side to the Russian personality. But when I think of Russia, I think of Peter Yan. I think of that personality, like very straightforward, doesn't no BS. He comes at you very, very straight. He'll tell you what he's going to do, and he's going to go ahead and do it. So yeah, Peter Yan, 2022 champion, man, and potential fighter of the year. I'm going to say it now.
He's very like, I can't remember the guy's name, but from Rocky, if he dies, he dies. That's it. Just
Drago.
like, yeah, Ivan Drago, just completely stone faced, man. Like he's gonna get in a ring with me. If I kill him, he dies. That's it.
I'm really surprised that no one has put that together as well. It's like after he wins a fight, like that's exactly who I picture every time I picture him winning as well. Is Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, we are in there to fight. I need to win. This is it. Okay, cool, man. Moving swiftly on. You kind of don't know how to take it.
And he also just never smiles as well. And I love that about his personality. He's just I wouldn't say he's angry either. He just seems like confident and just like calm together, like peaceful almost in a way, but like chaotic as well. Like it's so hard to describe someone like that all in one little person who doesn't even really speak that much.
Was he training at ATT but for the Sterling fight, or was he training at the PI? He was training in one of them, right?
ATT.
I mean, if he does his camp there again and stays there for a bit, man, this guy's going to be unstoppable. Completely unstoppable.
Yeah, and he was in Conor's favorite camp before that, which is Tiger Muay Thai, Rafael Fiziev, who's also coming back soon. I know Conor's very, very excited for that.
Yeah.
Well, boys, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, either. I would say Yan as well, man. He's the best bantamweight on the planet. I don't think there's a question about it at the moment. He'll beat you.
Curveball. Adrian Yanez. Curveball.
Who knows, eh? Who knows? No, he knocks Sterling out and he beats Dillashaw if he fights him next.
And that's it. That is it. And that is the breakdown for TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on the Sportinarium website and on Google Podcasts, on Spotify Podcasts, and all of those fantastic outlets as well. We also have some merch. You can find us Fight & Talk 2 on Etsy. The weather in the UK today has been well deserving of wearing a beanie hat, although it would be soaking when you took it off. Thank you very much for listening, and we're going to do a show about next week's card as well, which is the return of Uriah Hall, the leg breaker Uriah Hall, who's coming up against Sean Strickland. It's not a massive card, but we're going to break it down anyway. Casual Crush Corner, thank you very much. As always, you're the man, and then the eloquent analyst. Eloquent as ever. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, good sir.